Hello and welcome back to my YouTube. We're keeping today's video very simple. I'm just gonna discuss my bulk and how it's going, and then we're gonna dive into an actual leg day training session. I'm actually going to voice over the training, and I'm just gonna explain different things of my leg day, like mental cues, the exercise choices, and things like that. But first, I wanna dive into an update on how my bulk is going. So I'm on week 6 of my bulk, and I'd say my weight went up, I think my weight has gone up like 3-ish pounds. It ranges anywhere from 2 to 3 pounds, and I'm feeling really good. I'm not feeling overstuffed as I was in the beginning of my bulk. I was feeling so full every single meal, and I kind of went to Kyle, my coach, and I was like, hey, I can't eat this much. Especially because my first 2 meals of the day, which is the 2 meals before I train, I was feeling so full and so overstuffed that it was making training uncomfortable and hard, and I was bloated, couldn't even drink intra-carbs or anything like that. And now I'm at a point where I am following everything, and we lowered food, then raised it back up, and I'm following all of the food I'm supposed to be eating, including intra-carbs, which is something that I never implemented. So I'm actually gonna put a side-by-side up on the screen of my progress so far during the bulk. Like I said, roughly 3 pounds difference. Nothing too crazy. I'm feeling really good. I do wanna try to push my weight higher, but obviously I don't want to just gain a bunch of fat. I want to be a more lean bulk, like anybody would want it to be. And I'm just pushing my body to where I can. As for following diet, I do get at least 1 free meal a week. I had a bunch of free meals the last few weeks, but I am following what I can to a degree, and it's been good. I just had birthdays coming up, celebrations, things like that. I'm not gonna miss out on any of those things, being that I'm in an off season, I'm not in prep, and I'm gonna enjoy them, because honestly, at this time next year, I'll be competing and I won't be enjoying the things that I was just celebrating. And my current training split, I am still training legs twice a week. I do implement quads into one of my days, but it's very minor, nothing serious. I do delts twice a week, and then I hit back and arms one day of the week. I started implementing heavier lifts now, so I'm working my weight up on different movements. I actually recently started implementing back squats in again. It's more of a glute squat on a Smith machine, but I started incorporating it because my gym recently just got a vertical Smith machine, so it's not slanted in any way, and I feel like that's the best movement or the best machine for me to use for a back squat to engage my glutes better. I've been getting DMs on how I train, and people asking me just what a true training session for me is like. Am I training to failure on every exercise? Like, what am I fully doing? To answer that, I do train to failure, but I wouldn't say I train to failure on every single exercise that I do. I'd say I train to failure on 2 to 3 movements during my lift, and that's typically my biggest movement. So for a leg day, I train to failure for the back squat. I'll train to failure for RDLs, because that's a big one. I'll train to failure for hip thrusts or leg press even, you know, depending on what I do during the day. But small accessory movements, I don't think it's necessary to really train until failure. I stick with high volume for a lot of my accessory movements, and even high volume just on more of my compound movements like hip thrusts and stuff like that, because I just feel like it does more for me rather than going super heavy and then keeping reps super low. So yes, I'm taking a hypertrophy approach, but my rep range typically for my top sets are gonna be anywhere from 8 on the very low end to 15. Hi, Emmy. And that is going to be my comfort range for hey. Anyway, that is going to be my comfort range for lifting. That's where I feel like I benefit the most from my lifts. Even when I do train to failure, it's on 1 set, like maybe 2, depending on what intensifiers I throw in. If I throw in a really hard set that's 90% to failure, and then I'll throw in an intensifier like a rest pause set. I do a lot of intensifiers as well on a lot of my exercises, not just supersetting things, not just drop sets. I do a lot of rest pause sets, which if you don't know what that is, I'll give you a perfect example of one of my favorite rest pause exercises, which will be in this video. I do a leg press, feet up, and hamstring focused. I do about 10, 12 reps, re-rack it, but my feet stay up, and I rest for 30 seconds. Again, I do about 10 to 12, as many as I can get. feet up and almost until failure, rest for about 30-40 seconds, and then I rep it out until failure, which is typically around 10 to 12. That's pretty much how I've been lifting, just kind of incorporating other intensifiers to do accessory movements here and there. One of my favorite things to do on a leg day, which if you have never thought about this approach, I definitely recommend you try it. I do one hinging motion and then I'll do one squatting motion. One hinging motion, then one squatting motion. Things like that have really helped me lifting wise and really helped me not be as quad dominant. In terms of delts, same thing with intensifiers. I do a lot of supersets, I do a lot of drop sets, and delts for me, except for a heavy shoulder press, is high volume, like 15 to even 30, depending on what I'm doing. 30 is obviously excessive, 15 to 30 reps, things like that. And then, you know, throwing in drop sets and all those good things. That seems to be what has been working for me. And as for cardio, I only do 25 minutes of cardio 5 times a week, which some people think is a lot, but it's not a lot at all. And it's low intensity. I also have been incorporating 1 day of hot yoga a week, and that's on a rest day. That's just super good for mobility and super good for stability, muscle stability, which I feel like bodybuilders lack. Being a former gymnast and coming over to bodybuilding and lifting like a bodybuilder, I've realized that a lot of my stabilizing muscles are just not as strong, and I feel like my joints feel less reinforced. And I feel like yoga really helps with that because you're doing movements that are out of your comfort zone and you're stretching in different ways, holding different poses, and it's working on your stabilizing muscles, which help your joints move, and all those good things just keeps you happy, healthy, and feeling good when you're lifting and not just focusing on like a lat pull down and it's just a basic movement. You're moving, you're using different muscles that you wouldn't use. For the rest of the video, enjoy a nice voiceover of me, if you didn't get enough of my voice right now, during a leg day training session. So I'm gonna go over like the specifics of my training during this.
Okay, this is my first time doing a voiceover, but starting off my leg workout with calves. What was that? Did I not even put, I didn't even put the whole clip in there. Okay, well I started with calves. Now, here's how you put on knee sleeves. You have to roll them up, roll up the edges, then you slide them on. They should be difficult to slide on. That's the point. That's why they are knee sleeves. They need to protect your knees. They give support, so they're not going to be easy to put on. You know, then you just yank them up, as so you could see them struggling. Especially when you have sweaty legs, it's very hard. And then you just unroll the edges, and good to go. First off, we're starting off with lunges. Now, this is a B stance lunge, so my leg is going to be out to the side. You can see I'm going down really slow. I'm controlling the weight, and I'm pushing my hips back really far. The cue I use here is to keep my knee over my heel the entire time. That keeps the best connection to my glutes. And then this is my top set, using a 45 because I'm a big, strong girl now. And here you could really see how my knee is out to the side, and you could see the full stretch of my glute. And you could just, yeah, really gassed from that exercise, I guess. It looked pretty awful. Checking out the pump. Yep, there it is. Then we got another leg. Most of my weight, if not all of my weight, is going to be on that base leg, getting a really big stretch in the glute and pushing your hips back. Anyway, next exercise is going to be RDLs. I prefer doing RDLs on some kind of machine to keep me stabilized, not a Smith machine. So there's, you know, other machines out there you could use, but I prefer the Pit Shark right now. Really allows you to push your hips back. You can see how far I'm pushing my hips back and pulling them forward. Something that I have to work on personally is pulling my hips all the way through to contract my glute fully. And this is honestly one of my favorite exercises. I can't go super heavy on it, but it is what it is. Next exercise is a leg press, and just kind of messing around here. This is one of my warm-up sets. Wasn't really feeling it this way, to be honest. I prefer my feet a little bit closer together and up high. Just trying to figure out what to do to make it better, so I'm using a resistance band. I'm just testing it out. And this was so much better for me. Personally, I had a better mind-muscle connection to my hamstrings and glutes. This really allowed me to use the resistance of the band to contract my glutes better. And here I'm doing a rest pause set. So what a rest pause set is essentially do about 12 reps, then I re-rack it, changing my music because the music was awful. Rest 30 and then back on another set. I think I did about 10 to 12 here. Then you re-rack it, rest for 30, and then one more time, 10 to 12 or until failure, so you could do more. And I was really pushing hard here. It was honestly, this is where the burn happens. And the key to this is keeping your feet up in between sets. Then you can finally get up and just feel how bad that truly did burn. And then last exercise is going to be hip bridges on a Smith machine. Again, I do love a stabilizing machine. I obviously have to use a barbell pad. I use a band between my knees to get it set on my hips. And here I'm focusing more on my abductors. So I am doing a frog stance kind of on the edges of my feet. Really just contracting, going super slow. And clearly that also burned as well. And, oh sorry, one more exercise. Single leg RDLs, one of my favorite things to do. Again, this is stabilized even though it's a dumbbell because I'm holding on to something and it's one leg. Highly, highly recommend these. Really push your hips back and get a super big stretch. But that is it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribe. I love you. Okay, bye.